So, by the time you see this, I'm going to be in the United States, and this is going to be a scheduled video. I figured just to keep the channel alive, we would be doing something. So here is a figure review of Heather Swain from Cyberfrog. I don't actually know what company made this. It seems to be just the only brand I can really see is All Caps Comics, which I guess is the publisher of the comic book. But I've never read the comic itself, so I have no idea who this character is or what she does. But I'm always on the lookout for some civilian female figures, which is really difficult to find because pretty much all of them wear skin-tight tights and they have gigantic proportions, and it's kind of hard seeing something a bit more casual. And this here is a mighty casual looking figure. Well, she looks a bit punky, but you know, it's still pretty much there. It's just a girl in jeans and a t-shirt that is a little bit torn up, and so are the jeans. So starting off, sculpt-wise, this figure is kind of... it's decent. The head kind of lacks a lot of real detail. The paint job is all right, but she doesn't like have any like irises or pupils. It's just like a black dot with some light reflection painted on. The head is a little bit tiny. I'll get more into that when I compare it to our Marvel Legends figure a bit later. But overall, she like cuts a pretty nice silhouette. Just looking around, she's got a knife sculpted here to her hip, and it's bendy, so it moves out of the way for the articulation. I'm a big fan of these knees, how they're just completely flush to the rest of the leg sculpt, and they look really good when it's just in a neutral position like this, like torn knees on the jeans. But moving on to articulation, she cannot move her head. Like, if you like force it, you can do it to the side. But this hair is really stiff. Like you can see, I'm trying to bend it. It barely has any give to it. The arms are decent. They go out like that. You can't really ask for more. She's got a swivel here at the bicep. She's got single jointed elbows, which go a little bit further than 90, which is pretty good. And then her wrists are just kind of like a pin and ball here. So it looks a little bit ugly because it's cast in this gray plastic and the color is like bleeding through the skin colored paint. You can see it like here, and it doesn't look too great. Then she's got a twist here around the abdomen. She can't really crunch at all. She has a swivel here at the waist to also help with the posing. Unfortunately, it's a really ugly swivel joint, as you can see here. I prefer it when the torso is molded slightly like down here, and there's like a little crevice here where it can rest, so this entire bit is separate, and then whenever you turn, you can't really, like, it just looks a lot more flush. Here at the hips, it's kind of... so I think this might be like an issue with mine, but for some reason the legs are completely connected at this like rod here, but they can move individually if you just hold the legs stuck. I think this rod is meant to be glued in, but it just isn't, so it's a little bit, you know, annoying when you want to try to pose her. They're also pretty stiff, these leg joints. I'm not really sure how I feel about them. They look all right, but they don't really go that far out. Like, well, like 90, but I don't know, something just feels icky about it. And then she's got a thigh cut here, looks all right. I think you can just pull it off like this. Again, the quality does not seem to be the best. Like I showed earlier, she's got double jointed knees. They're perfectly fine. And then she has just up and down movement at the shoes, which is a little bit unfortunate because I don't know when this figure was made. 2023 is what I find on the box. So by this point, everyone had ankle rockers, and ankle rockers are some of the most important articulation you can have on the entire lower body, and she's missing them, which is very unfortunate. But be floppy as she is, she can stand, and she comes with a couple of other things. She has this beehive stand. I assume this is something to do with the comic itself, and then she has like the stand that goes around the waist, and then she has a couple of weapons. She has an axe, looks really good, nice paint job, a little bit of silver paint here, clean brown paint here. She's got a, I think this is a machete, but the handle looks like a big kitchen knife. I'm not really sure what this is supposed to be. And then you have the typical anti-zombie baseball bat with spikes on it. Furthermore, she comes with a couple of extra hands. She's got one set that's just completely splayed out like that, and then she has a set that is meant to be gripping these items. And the hands are plenty pliable, so you can just force them items in here and she can hold everything just fine. Let's see how they swap. And just pull them out and put them in just like so. Let's see, the arms are a little bit floppy here, like you can see. And then finally, the last thing she comes with are not one, but two alternate heads. And this is something I wish pretty much every figure ever did. Just multiple heads is such good value. I don't really care too much for hands usually, but just give me more heads. Give me more head sculpt. And the heads come off pretty easily. She's got this kind of super meager... She's got this super meager double ball peg in here that doesn't really have that much motion, and it doesn't really matter with this particular head anyway because it's so rigid. But let's see the smiling head. With a little bit of force it comes on, and again, you cannot pose this at all. This one even worse than the other one. But it's a pretty nice sculpt overall. I'm not a fan of this kind of like translucency on the skin. Like, it just looks a bit cheap in terms of plastic. But the paint itself, for what it is pretty clean. Again, I wish there was some more detail in the eyes because they're just two black dots. And this one doesn't even have any light reflection painted in. So it just looks a bit creepy. This one here is clearly the most effective head in terms of articulation and everything. You can see she's got a little bit of tilt here. She can actually turn. And I think this is my favorite head out of all of them, even though it's my least favorite type of expression, because as you know, I don't like kind of action expressions. But everything is painted pretty cleanly, the lips are painted clean, the white in the mouth is very well defined, and yeah, the eyes are where they are supposed to be, and again, they don't have a light reflection. So I don't know whether the light reflection is exclusive to this head, but it is what it is. Anyway, let's compare her to a couple of Marvel Legends, because that's most likely what you're gonna want to use this for in terms of custom fodder. So I have a regular Marvel figure here. This is Dazzler. Height-wise, they are pretty compatible, but the head sizes are so different. The Marvel Legends heads are just a lot bigger. And maybe for like the smaller heads, it would work more. This is the MJ from No Way Home. This does look slightly more in scale, well, the same scale, but then the detail in the face is just so off from what Hasbro is doing nowadays. But yeah, comparing her to another figure, Storm here, the proportions are like... She will look fine in the background, but do not attempt to use one of these heads. It will not work. How does this look? This kind of looks a little bit alright, but the head, it looks a little bit small. Let's try the Dazzler head. This looks a lot better in terms of... Yeah, so I think it's just like the heads themselves are undersized, but the body itself is pretty much Marvel Legends scale. Obviously, she's a little bit shorter, but, you know, in terms of like pure head size, I'd say this looks pretty good. So this was just a quick little run through of the All Caps Comics Heather Swain Cyberfrog figure. And in case you've been on the fence about it, and you just want some good-looking female figures on the shelves, she will do fine as a background character. I wouldn't really use her for fodder. There are better Marvel Legends type figures in this scale with better articulation and just better proportions and everything. If you're curious about her alternatives, she does have a few. She has one that's completely red. This is the one we have here, and then we have one with a black t-shirt. And here you can actually see the pictures of the toys in this line. So these look pretty cool, but it's nothing I'm really interested in. I figured I would make this video for those of you who were curious about this figure and see how she lines up with Marvel Legends and whatnot. Here's Callisto as well. Like I said, she will make a good background character, but unfortunately don't expect any spectacular fodder. So thank you for watching and hope you enjoyed.